What is up, and I welcome each and every one of you back to a brand new Civ 6 or Civilization 6 video. Today we're going to be talking about the top 5 civs missing from Civ 6, only civs this time. There aren't going to be any leaders or anything like that. Last time I did this video a couple months ago, I had some pretty good responses, and I did add a couple other civs that I'd love to see added. I don't think any of these are repeated. They might be, I don't know, I haven't went back and watched the video, although I can say for certainty at least 90% of these are not going to be repeated. I don't think. I hope so. But if you guys are new here, pretty much the premise of this, well, I've only done it one time, so pretty much everybody, the premise of this is I'm going to pick a civ that isn't in the game, one that's had big historical impact, and I'm going to be talking about some different abilities this civ could have. Now, I want each one to be different, right? I don't want to make 5 clones of Alexander or something. We already have one too many of those. But yeah, pretty much what we're going to be doing. I'll talk about a civ, talk about some abilities and what I think I might like added and what their general playstyle would be, and without further ado, let's get started with the first civ being Morroco. Morocco, that is right, the West African Berber civilization. Morocco has had a pretty important part in most of the world's history, especially around the medieval and Renaissance era, being sort of as the gateway to Africa, or so it would call. Civ 5 Morocco was one of my favorite civs to play. I don't think they were the best civ by any means, but they were still a really fun civ to play as. I feel like you could do kind of the same thing in this game, having Morocco as a culture and trade type of civ. Don't know who the leader would be, but I think something made around, maybe trade routes give you relics or something, or maybe trade route gives you tourism or something like that, making it so that your trade routes can actually be used for a culture victory, more so than the 25% bonus to culture you have, because really, that, it's nice, but we do want to spice the civ up a little bit. So let me know down below exactly what you guys think, and heck, let me know exactly down below what you guys think about any civ, and some abilities that they might have. I'd love to read the responses, but Morocco being a culture trade civ, maybe they could have a unique trade route, a trade route that gives you tourism for every tile spent or whatever, so that by the time the late game comes around and you have 10 to 15 trade routes, you could have maybe, and they travel 20 tiles, each trade route would give you like 20 tourism, and you could use that tourism in the late game. Then obviously, I'd like for them to have like the Berber cavalry maybe something sort of like Ethiopia's bonus, where they have like a defense bonus in their territory, maybe a combat bonus in the desert or something like that. And then maybe the other thing they could have is they could have sort of like a naval unit that can do coastal raids a lot more effectively, but you don't have to be at war to do those coastal raids. I do have that as a mechanic later on in the video. I'm not going to go too in depth of it. I'm not going to spoil the surprise. Not going to let the chicken out of the bag just yet, but I think Morocco being a cultural civ that's more inclined with sending trade routes at you instead of building wonders and the like would be a really good idea. Have you all noticed that there is one strategy missing from Civ 6 as compared to maybe something like Civ 5 or anything like that? The literal, you have 50 turns to be an absolute god, after that you're dog shit type of civilization. And what I am talking about are the HUNS. The HUNS in Civ 5, for those of you who don't know, were the most menacing, scary monstrosities ever to exist in Civ 5 until about turn 50. After turn 50, they turned from literally the best Civ ever to the worst Civ in the entire game, by far, even worse than prime Civ 6 Georgia. That's how bad they were after turn 50. I do sort of want to base the HUNS off of that a little bit. Back in Civ 5, the HUNS would automatically start with animal husbandry. They'd have the horse archers and battering rams super early on, and they'd be able to wipe out 2 to 3 civilizations early. If they didn't, they'd be completely useless for the rest of the game, but if they did, they could use that to snowball to victory. I kind of want that civ. You could make the argument that Gilgamesh is kind of that civ with his war cart unlocked immediately, but I'd argue against that because, well, Gilgamesh also has the ziggurats for a butt ton of science and alliance bonuses. What I want is to have the HUNS and have them as a super early game-oriented civ, right? Maybe give them 2 unique units and an early game domination ability. Maybe something like, let's say we give them the battering ram and the horse archer from Civ 5, right? And their unique ability could be you automatically unlock I don't know, maybe you automatically unlock, I don't know, let's even give them animal husbandry. No, that's too similar to Civ 5. We could go ahead and then we could give them a sort of production bonus towards building ancient and classical era units, like a really good production bonus, like 100% or something, and then we could have the horse archer unlocked by animal husbandry, and we could have like the battering ram unlocked by mining, like super early on, and then for the first 50 or 60 turns, we could have these guys be absolute terrors on the map, absolute, like, pretty much just these are these are the bedtime stories your parents told you about whenever you misbehave. The HUNS, that's what I want them to be. So we could have them as sort of like a super powerful early game civ, but after about turn 50, once people start getting up walls, once people start getting up archers and stuff like that, we could have like, they just be like completely useless. They'd have no other abilities, not like Gilgamesh who has a ziggurat or whatnot. No, they'd literally have the horse archer, the Hunnic battering ram or whatever, and after that's done, you're finished. Done. You can't do anything else after that. No abilities after the ancient era. That is exactly what I want for the Huns to be. And I don't know, I just kind of miss that play style of like, all right, you got like 10 minutes. You either take over the world or you're finished. It's a restart. I kind of enjoy that style of play, and I feel like that's kind of missing from Civ 6. So yeah, having the Huns and having an all or nothing early game domination type of game like they were in Civ 5 would definitely be a good addition to Civ 6. Now, after wiping away the spit from my phone from talking too fast, we are going to be talking about a kind of unique Civ third here. I'm going to be talking about Bohemia. Now, I'm not going to lie. I haven't heard of Bohemia until I played EU4, so that's probably where I'm getting them from. But Bohemia was pretty important in the early Renaissance, late medieval period. We can maybe have them as a diplomatic military kind of Civ. I know that would be kind of hard to implement, but maybe have it something like Bohemia has early game domination bonuses, and they don't get the diplomatic penalty from taking capitals like other civs do. We could give them that ability so that they be focused on a domination style of game mixed in with a diplomatic victory kind of. Though we could maybe give them bonuses towards city-states or something, getting envoys towards them or whatever. I feel like that would be really good because Bohemia has been a pretty cool country in the past, and also we don't really have too many Central or Eastern European civs for the most part. Maybe a couple Balkan civs would be nice, but I think Bohemia and having like a unique diplomatic military strategy is good. I don't know what their unique unit would be. It would probably be a late medieval, early Renaissance unique unit. But being able to take out an enemy civ, maybe every city you take out gives you 50 Diplo favor or something. Although maybe we could even give them a mechanic, right? Because they were part of the Holy Roman Empire, I think. Probably. Probably. I can't remember. I haven't played EU4 in weeks. But we could have them like part of the Holy Roman Empire or something. And then we could have them so that they can't control what the city builds. Sort of like Venice in Civ 5. But like each city you take out, they'd be sort of like your vassal. You get extra gold, culture, science for each city you conquer or whatever. And then you'd get Diplo favor for conquering every city. You'd get Diplo favor per turn for the amount of foreign cities you have under your control in this sort of like puppet state or whatever. And we could give them the ability to like take full control of the city, but they lose all those sweet bonuses they have, the science, the culture, the diplomatic favor per turn. So you have two choices. You could either be like a puppet master and get a large amount of science culture, sort of have like a one city challenge in a way, or you could go ahead and take full control of these and still be at like a massive advantage in a domination victory, getting all the Diplo favor you need from taking out enemy cities and not having to be worried about, taking out an enemy capital means I'm going to lose like 50 Diplo favor a turn until like turn 100 or whatever. But yeah, I feel like having Bohemia as a diplomatic military type of civ would be really interesting, would be really fun as well. Yeah, let's move on to the next civ, being Assyria. And I meant Assyria, not to be confused with modern-day Syria, who's been absolutely bombed back to the Stone Age by every single global power. I'm talking about the Assyrians from the ancient era who were the leaders in science and domination. They were another civ in Civ 5, I understand that, but having another civ back and instead focusing on a sort of science domination type of game would be really, really nice. I think instead of like having the siege tower, maybe we could have something like a cavalry unit, maybe an Assyrian raider from humankind. But no, maybe having like some sort of unique cavalry unit, maybe a horseman replacement, or maybe even a spearman replacement or whatever. I think Assyrians were also really good archers, so maybe I don't remember. It's from that book I read. You wouldn't never want to be an Assyrian warrior or whatever I think it's called. You could probably find it online. I like that book series. I might go back even though it's like 10 pages long. But having Assyria and having maybe like a unique library or unique campus or something, nothing too crazy obviously, because having science civs is kind of hard to balance, being that if you make them a little too powerful, they're literally the best civs in the entire game. But maybe having a small adjacency bonus for the Assyrian campus or whatever, and then having them a little focused on domination. Maybe every city you take out, you get like a couple Eurekas or whatever, or maybe you get some science for eliminating enemy units or something like that. Just have a sort of mix between science and domination. I don't think we have that yet, for good reason, but I think you could definitely balance that, especially if there's any civ who kind of deserves it, it would be Assyria probably. But yeah, having somebody that could, maybe we could give them a unique library instead that gives science for every, I don't know, maybe it could give like science for every foreign city you've occupied or whatever. And then for every unit you kill, you could sort of have it like George's ability. You get science for killing enemy units. This would be a really good civ, but at the same time, I don't think it would be like too broken or anything. If you're going to get like infinite science from taking out enemy units, you've probably already won the game through a domination victory. And then having all those cities, early on, maybe getting those extra cities would give your unique libraries some extra science for sure. But if you're getting like an insane amount of science from those libraries by taking out enemy cities, then, you've pretty much again already won the game. So I feel like science would sort of be a help towards Assyrian domination, more so than being something that's completely broken and that would go out of control. And those are just my ideas, obviously. But having an Assyrian civ focused on a unique library from like enemy cities taken out, and then killing enemy units gives you like science or something would be a really cool mechanic. I think it would be balanced, and having the Assyrians in this game would be pretty interesting in general. Let's move on to the last civ we're going to talk about. The last civ we're going to be talking about is the Seleucid Empire. Actually, that's a lie. There's going to be one more after this. I'm probably still going to call it top 5 missing civs. We'll have a bonus here. 5's a really good number. But the Seleucid Empire, we could have them as a sort of cavalry domination civ, and then have them something like Alexander's Legacy or whatever. That would give them one of the bonus that Alexander had. I think that'd be a really cool idea, because the Seleucids were a very important civ historically in antiquity. So I feel like them having a unique cavalry unit, focused on cavalry domination, kind of like Byzantium, would be nice. But I think their unique ability should be this. Their unique ability becomes one of Alexander's abilities, either the to World's End ability, or maybe the Basilica Piety, or maybe one of Alexander's unique units or something like that. And depending on what you do, you're going to get access. You can only get access to maybe 2 of Alexander's abilities per game. Maybe if you unlock bronze working, if you get bronze working, you have the option to unlock the Basilica Piety. If you unlock iron working or horseback riding, you have a chance to unlock one of 2 of his unique units. And then maybe if you have something like maybe beginning of the game or whatever, after you declare war, you have a chance to unlock To World's End ability. Having sort of like gated abilities that you could end up taking for yourself if you meet certain thresholds would be a really interesting mechanic. For those of you who don't know, Seleucid Empire is the eastern portion of the empire that died off, that pretty much splintered off after Alexander died. I think they were famed for cavalry and horse archers, sort of. I mean, they were in the steppes, or they were in like around Persian territory. So I think that would be a pretty cool mechanic. Give them something like a horse archer or something, and then maybe give them some like domination unique abilities. But I love having the mechanic of, okay, they can get one of these abilities depending on what path they go down, or maybe 2 of those abilities or whatever. Don't exactly know how you'd balance that, but in all honesty, having a sort of cavalry domination civ isn't the most unique idea, so I did want to sort of spice things up a little bit. If they do want to make a sort of, nothing too crazy like the thing I have, maybe they could have like a horse archer, and I'm talking about like a real, not a Saka horse archer, the worst unit in the game, my god, but maybe you could have a horse archer, kind of like the Kashid from Civ 5. I feel like it would be a little bit more balanced considering the prevalence of horsemen in the game. We could have something like 3 or 4 movement speed, you can move after attacking, and you have a 2 range or something like that, and then, we could have something like that for the Seleucids, or maybe a unique cavalry unit, maybe a cataphract or something that would give them extra combat strength with like heavy cavalry or whatever. I don't know. Those are just some of my ideas. But having the Seleucid Empire would be a pretty cool idea in my opinion. This was supposed to be the last civ, but let's move on to the last one, the real last one this time, because I feel like there's a super unique mechanic that I would love to have implemented in the game. The final thing I have is going to be something that is pretty fairly unique, and I don't know how you'd be able to do this, but playing as barbarians. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? We should have an actual barbarian civ. Right? We've all wanted to play as the barbarians before. Why not have that happen? Why not have it so that your unique ability is you are always at war with everybody and you can't do any sort of trade or diplomacy, and you don't count as sort of the civ cap. So if you have 6 civs, there'd be 6 civs other than you, and maybe we could have somebody like the Berbers, right? We could have the Berbers. You have a unique cavalry unit, a unique boat unit, and then all you're focused on is pillaging as much as possible, right? You're going to be able to do everything a regular civ can, build campuses, build units, build buildings, do all that good stuff. but you're going to be able to use units you have, maybe give them like super powerful units, considering the fact you're not going to be able to trade, or you're not going to be able to, do anything like that, no diplomacy or whatever. And then maybe we could give their unique ability, like you automatically get this resource in your capital for 30 turns if you pillage an enemy's resource. So what I mean by that is we could have like maybe like a Berber cavalry or maybe a unique boat unit. I'm only picking the Berbers right now because I was sort of like thinking of this pirate mechanic or whatever, and then I thought, the Berbers would be perfect for that. And then I'm like, you know what, let's just go full balls to the wall and have a domination and have like an actual barbarian civ. So maybe if you're like having a boat and you pillage an enemy's pearls, or maybe you could land pillage an enemy citrus tile, you automatically get that resource in your capital. Like you get the entire luxury, you get all the yields, you get the amenity bonus in all your cities for 30 turns or something like that. And then you could do the same thing for any other thing you pillage, and then therefore you're not going to be able to do any trades or alliances or anything. But if you play your cards right and you just start pillaging everything, you could have an insane amount of yields in your capital if you do play your cards right. Having a sort of barbarian civ would be absolutely insane in this type of game, and I feel like this would be a good way to have it happen without actually having to, go in the code and changing it to allow you to play as a barbarian. Speaking of which, I'm surprised they didn't give us the option to play as a barbarian. How cool would that be? You know what? I might play. Let me know down below. Do you guys want me to play as a barbarian civ in my next playthrough or not? I'd love to. I think I did that a couple months ago where I literally just like have to send a scout out, bring him back home, and then spawn like 5 warrior units to go to war or whatever. But yeah, these are pretty much all the civs I have. If you did enjoy this video, as always, like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff YouTubers tell you to do, because I am a YouTuber, obviously. And yeah, without further ado, I will see you all in the next video. Peace. Huge shout out to my members: Cash Christian, Ben Ownby, John Blair, Jackson Perez, Polaris Gaming, Empyreum, Adam Mester, Jeff Utzler, Kim Cosmos. A really special shout out to my oh my god subscribers, Robert and Overflow of Amenities.